Check, yo, what is the deal? What is the deal? I'm coming through with a impromptu episode here. I was watching homie Jake Fisher do the Bleach Report live chat, and he spoke about the Pelicans. Anything Pelicans related, I'm gonna come here and bring it to the people. The last couple of episodes on this channel, we spoke about the Pelicans potentially having some interest in Jonathan Kuminga. That rumor has dated back to last offseason. And in my opinion, if you look at the sequence of statements here, I believe that Jake Fisher kind of alluded to the Pelicans and Jonathan Kuminga in Atlanta working on potentially a sign and trade. That's just my interpretation based on the sequence of statements. Not saying that he came out and confirmed it. I'm just saying based on the sequence of statements. So shout out to everybody in the building. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Welcome to No Picture with No Hand Hold. We do facts on emotion. You understand me? So we're gonna get into it. I see a couple of y'all coming into the building. I'm gonna try to answer y'all questions. This is a short ep, but he is saying that the Pelicans are remaining active in free agency as well as a few other teams. But I pretty much just highlighted the Pelicans segment. So let's get into it.
The Denver Nuggets are feeling all this interest in Peyton Watson. The Nuggets are certainly a team.
I have heard that the Pelicans had some interest in Peyton Watson as well. I don't know if that interest is still there, but I have heard that the Pelicans kicked, the tires on Peyton Watson.
That's still active in this marketplace. They've also got another restricted free agent in Spencer Jones, and Denver is in need of another potentially backup center after losing Jonas Valanciunas. They waived him by their own decision, and he just made it official and signed with Lithuania today. They brought in Marvin Bagley to be a backup center, but I do still think there's some thought in Denver about finding some more front court depth. Milwaukee is a team that is definitely still, quote unquote, shopping, still doing business here on the offseason marketplace. We know of them, right, as a team that we just talked about that has Peyton Watson interest. That's
now look. Aside from Peyton Watson interest, Milwaukee has to consolidate to some degree. Now they're currently under investigation for the Gary Trent Jr. Contract that he just signed this offseason, them in clutch. So we'll see what happens with that. You know what's funny? No one cares if you get underpaid, but you get overpaid, they call them the fucking FBI. But that's neither here nor there. Either way, they have a bit of a gluttony at the 5 position. You brought back Jericho Sims, if I'm not mistaken. You just got Khalil Ware. You got Miles Turner. You have too many players on your roster. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think they'd be looking to do a 2-for-1 or to kind of trade someone into cap space for a pick. So, hey, the Pelicans like Khalil Ware, they got just enough cap space to absorb that contract without going into the tax. That's an answer for your center position. You give them maybe their own first and put some type of protection on it. Shout out to Talking for Life. Hope everything's well with you also, fam. Shout out to the homie Dakari. What's the deal, man? Appreciate y'all tapping in.
Around Jonathan Kuminga. But all of Memphis, Charlotte, Milwaukee, those teams, to my understanding, all have more than 15 players under contract. So they're going to have to cut some guys or make a trade. Dallas is still somewhat active, to my understanding. I've heard some people looking at New Orleans to potentially do something here. They've obviously been in the news a lot over the last couple of days with DeAndre Jordan having a 2-year contract and not a 1-year contract. That was something that we first reported over the weekend as well. And we are looking at Atlanta potentially doing something here, being that they're kind of have.
Appreciate you, Anthony. Thank you, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Appreciate all the support. Now, here's where I'm tying the connection between Atlanta and the Pelicans. Now, remember, the Pelicans and Atlanta had some negotiations around Trey Murphy around the draft time. I'm sure the Pelicans were just listening to offers and saying, what could potentially come to fruition. But y'all let me know if y'all think I'm reading too much into this. Now, again, I've heard this from a couple people, but y'all let me know that y'all think I'm reading too much into this New Orleans-Atlanta connection here as it pertains to Jonathan Kuminga. I'm going to rewind it a little bit and let's play it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Like, if y'all think I'm tripping, just let me know.
Having a 2-year contract and not a 1-year contract, that was something that we first reported over the weekend as well. And we are looking at Atlanta potentially doing something here, being that they're kind of have a loose thread to tie up here with Jonathan Kuminga, and they don't exactly have to play ball and have to help facilitate an exit for him, but just because he is someone on the board that does have varying interest from other teams.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your support, brother. Appreciate your super chat, Michael Morgan. What's good, homie? Man, I'm just trying to give the people something to be hopeful about. You know what I'm saying? I know people a little down on the off season right now, so I'm trying to give us something to be hopeful about. And this is something I have heard. Again, I'm not saying he's necessarily making that connection, but I do think it's interesting the way, the sequence went.
And does need to leave by way of sign and trade. That does position Atlanta in trade conversation and with an opportunity to further improve their roster here. So I think outside of Memphis, Charlotte, and Milwaukee, Atlanta, Dallas, the Lakers with Kuminga, New Orleans, those are teams I'm hearing are still kind of active in this free agent marketplace. I mean, the Warriors are going to have some stuff to do with whether or not they get LeBron as well. They're an incomplete roster to some degree. I mean, Draymond Green remains technically an unrestricted free agent after opting out of his player option, even though we know he's going back to Golden State. So those are kind of the...
Shout out to the homie J-Dog. J-Dog say, I watched this live yesterday and came to the same conclusion. I watched your live last night, was hoping Louisiana girl would have dropped a nugget in the comments. I talked to my homie, Louisiana gal, and we on the same page. We on the same page as it pertains to this. Now, again, the Pelicans, they've been sniffing around a lot of different things, and that's why I thought the pursuit of Zaire Williams was especially interesting, because even if you don't think he's a great player, which I don't think he's a great player, but it's like, why would you want another wing? Like, why would you want another wing in this circumstance? Like, and that makes me think that they have interest in wings. Now, I think that them having interest in Peyton Watson is just doing their due diligence, because Peyton Watson would fit like a glove, especially in a Mosley system, I would imagine. Great shooter. Well, last year he was a really good shooter. Can defend. Might be getting a little overpaid, but I think schematically he would fit. I just think it's interesting. So me and Louisiana Gal are definitely on the same page as it pertains to Kuminga, because I don't think Kuminga would demand a lot of money in this marketplace, because there's not a lot of people that can pay him right now. And he's likely to get more money in a sign and trade. So that's why, like, he could potentially get the full MLE in the sign and trade versus, $10 million that the Lakers offering right now. And it would behoove Atlanta they don't have to help, but it would behoove them to help. That way they don't just lose them for nothing, because you traded Porzingis for Kuminga. Now Kuminga just about to walk. So it's like, and they didn't drastically improve their roster. Like, they brought back Jock Landale. You could have, I guess they brought him back on that 1 year, $14-15 million deal so they could use it as a large expiring at the deadline. But that's a lot of fucking money. The Kari say, do you think Kuminga would be a good fit? I think you will be counting on Kuminga's talent, physicality, and upside. Like, Kuminga can rebound. He was okay from behind the arc last year. He's a large physical presence. Like, he can play the three, he can play the four, give you some switchability on defense. And if he's bought in, he's a hell of a talent. He's just, to me, he's kind of like Peyton Watson. Like, I think they're similar players to where, like, you don't really got enough data to say you're, deserving of a long-term rich contract. There's not enough consistency and data there. Play style isn't always appetizing as it pertains to Kuminga, but he was willing to come off the bench in Atlanta. You saw the buy-in there. Right now, I think he's playing for his security and NBA future, because you can't keep – look, people are only going to count potential for so long before a motherfucker like, all right, look, this potential shit going out the door. What have you done? You know what I'm saying? What are your deliverables? What have you accomplished? And you got to go somewhere and prove you could buy into a system and play and deliver. So I think that's probably what you'll see with Kuminga at his next stop. Hopefully you see it with the Pelicans, right? My dog Michael Morgan said, we get an upgrade at the starting center position. I believe you have a solid team. Not good, but solid. Yeah, I can agree. I think right now, look, I think right now, much like with Mike saying, look, I say Mosley, healthy DeJounte, everybody playing slightly better. is good for an additional 10 to 12 wins. Let's just say 10. That puts you at 36 wins, right? 36 wins. You could have got that last year without DeJounte and with Borrego. So let's say 36 wins to, if I want to be generous, let's say 38. 38 wins. I don't think that's good enough. I think you gotta cross that 4. And I think to cross the 4 and get into the 40s, if you can add some shooting, you can add, a good big man, and everyone plays just better than last year. You don't have to be great. Just got to be better than you were last year, because everyone was terrible last year. So if Jordan Poole has a good year, if DeJounte has a solid year, if Zion has a relatively good year for him, if Trey just does what he did last year, if Herb has a better year, Eve takes another step, Derek takes another step, Fears takes another step. Like, if these guys are all solid to good, no one's awful, you'll be fine. But if you can add a perimeter improvement, like if you turn Herb into Kuminga, to me, that's an upgrade. If you can bring in another center, even if it's a rotational big to help you with defensive rebounding, to me, that's an upgrade in depth. Like, you know what I'm saying, and at the depth position. Because as it currently stands, you really got one playable center on the roster. That would be Eve, like a guy you could play for real minutes. So after Eve, like, Carlos not a center, Derek's not a center. So those guys are going to be depth at the 4 position with Queen and Derek. You could play base some minutes at the 4. If you were to get Kuminga, you could give him some minutes at the 4, Zion some minutes at the 4. But if you want to get defensive rebounder, you got to get another big man. J-Dog, what's happening, homie? He said, appreciate y'all always. I need something to happen. Can't run this team back. Feel like time is running out. I think this year is a little peculiar because, like, I clipped the part where it got close to the Pelicans, but he was talking about several teams still looking to add people, looking to figure things out. Charlotte, Memphis. He said another team as well that slips my mind. He mentioned Milwaukee, but there's several teams that still got to make some moves. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Milwaukee just signed Jericho Sims, so I don't think they'll cut him. They just brought him back, but they need to make a roster move because they got too many players on the roster. So if I'm them, I'm looking at, like, okay, am I rolling with Sims? Am I rolling with Ware? Am I rolling with Turner? Like, what am I trying to do here? I think they got more incentive to roll with Turner right now because of that contract, how big the contract is, and the fact that you want to be at least somewhat competitive this year. You don't even got to pick. So I think that means Ware is available, because if a team is willing to give you a first for Ware or a protected first for Ware, and you can just trade Ware into that rookie, like, he only got like $4 million. He only make like $4-5 million. You can just absorb him in cap space. Like, if you're the Pelicans, like, just get it over with. Just get the shit over with. Now I do know people got some questions about him as far as his motor, defensive buy-in, things of that nature. But he would address it from a depth position, but I don't know if they'd be willing to give up a real asset for that player at this juncture, which makes sense as well. What's going on with Duren? I think the last thing I read is that Detroit trying to keep Duren at all costs. So I don't know if he's going to get no crazy money. He kind of lost leverage in the situation, to be honest, because he ain't taking a qualifying offer. He going to just take that 30-something million and go by. I mean, that's what he should do. J-Dog said, this interest in Kuminga, I'm hoping they also like Ben Mathurin. I like him as a player and know a little better. We need more dynamic scoring. And Moses said he wants guys to get to the rim. Yeah, Ben Mathurin gets to the rim like a big dog. He rebounds and he gets to the free throw line. But see, Ben Mathurin is coming off a rookie scale deal. So his base year compensation would be more difficult. Like, for example, if they sign, let's say they signed Ben Mathurin for $20 million, right? Just hypothetically speaking, in a sign and trade. If I'm not mistaken, the money would count. How would it go? The money would only count for like 10 million going to the Pelicans. Like, so if I'm not mistaken, the Clippers would have to add another player to make it 20 million received to the Pelicans. But that would make the Pelicans, if I'm not mistaken on this, that would make the Pelicans receive like 30 million. Like, it would be real weird. Like, that's why Kuminga just ended up going back to the Warriors, and like restricted free agents typically end up going home because the base year compensation is a fucking mess coming off your rookie scale deal. Marley G, what's happening, man? LP, what's the deal? Hemi, what's the deal? Molly, what's popping? Hold on. I see a couple of y'all comments. I'm trying to get to y'all comments before we got here. Everybody building, man, make sure y'all hit that like button. I appreciate y'all tapping in. But they really do like Ben Mathurin. They like Ben Mathurin a lot. If he wasn't restricted, I think they would have signed him if they had the money, to be honest, bro. They like Ben Mathurin a lot. Michael Morgan said, I'm surprised Troy hasn't tried to get him. You talking about Ben Mathurin? I'm sure they sniffed around Ben Mathurin. Oh, you talking about Jalen Duren? They probably did their due diligence. I've heard some not so great things about JD behind the scenes being being Jalen Duren. I've heard some not great things about homie behind the scenes. So I'm sure if I heard them, they heard it. That don't mean they won't try to get him, but I've heard it. I've certainly heard it. Yeah, I like Mathurin too. Mathurin a dog. And you get to that fucking free throw line. Mathurin average almost as many free throws as I am. Brian Green said Kuminga is trying to be a number one option. He's looking for a team that will allow him to develop into that role. I disagree, Brian, because if he was going to the Lakers, he wouldn't be. He'd probably be a number 3 option. If he just came off the bench in Atlanta. So I don't think he's trying to be a number 1 option no more. I think he's trying to stay in the NBA, to be honest, at this point. Spectacular said, could we hypothetically get Mathurin a free agent? It's a bonus via trade. It would be extremely difficult. Spectacular. I ain't gonna lie. The cleanest way to do it would probably be to get some bonus first. Like, yeah, that would be the cleanest way to do it. Then you would have to. It's possible, but it would be difficult. You would have to try to get some bonus first, because the bonus would be just like Poole and Hawkins. You could probably get to just about enough money to take back more salary in that situation, because Poole and Hawkins would be 41 million. Sabonis makes 42, if I'm not mistaken. I think he makes 42. I don't think it's 46. I think he makes 42. So that'll get you close enough for that, and you won't be in the tax. And then you would have to. I'm not sure how you would have to structure it around getting Mathurin after that. It'll be tough though. The Kari say, if mostly healthy, still a few wins here and there, could you see the Pelicans reach a 40+ win plateau? It's possible, but they would have to start fast, and they would have to have incredible injury luck while everyone else had terrible injury luck. Not terrible, but like, for example, some of those wins last year came on the behalf of tanking teams, like the Jazz. You played the Jazz 4 times. I think we might have beat the Jazz 4 times, if I'm not mistaken. But if you play the Jazz 4 times, that's 4 additional wins from a tanking team, depending on when you played them. But the Pelicans, the thing that give you hope about the Pelicans is that y'all lost 20+ games where y'all led in the 4th quarter. If you just close out half of those motherfucking games, like you would have had 36 wins easily. Not only that, teams are still going to tank like here and there, because there's teams that still are going to want to be just outside of the play-in. Everybody's not going to be rushing for the play-in. Some teams are still going to want to be just outside of the play-in so they can have those heightened lottery odds. It's just a matter of when you play them and when they tank. They're not going to just pull the plug, but if they're like, man, we got 3 games in 5 nights, we're going to sit everybody down tonight. Like, you know, there's going to be some shit like that happening, I'm sure. Hemi say, boy, we had a center like AD right now. Yeah, AD would be nice. AD would be nice right now. He would answer all your problems, to be honest. Brian said, would Mathurin be a good fit with Kuminga? I think that's not on the Pelicans, I don't think. Not on the Pelicans, I don't think. I don't think Mathurin's a good enough shooter. So Zion, Mathurin, and Kuminga, that's 3 on-ball players. Unless Mathurin just became an automatic catch-and-shoot shooter. He shot well in Indiana. He didn't shoot well when he got to the Clippers, though. Savage said, do you think LeBron actually signed with the Warriors, or do you think they're trolling? I think they all kind of trolling right now, to be honest, bro. I mean, if he signed with the Warriors, then you know his goal, not a championship. His goal is just to go hang out with Steph. Like, I think the only place that could really give him a championship will be Cleveland. I don't think Miami. Like Bam, Giannis, and old LeBron, like that'd be terrible. Greg said, it's bad that the Poole contract is so hard to move? I don't think that contract's hard to move, to be honest. I think that contract is only hard to move. Like, for example, what would be the incentive in moving it? like the incentive would have to be to get a better play or a player that quote unquote fit more, but that player might be on a longer term contract. Like I'm sure you can move Poole in salary for Sabonis if you want to throw a pick in, but Sabonis contract is like an additional year. So do you want to fuck up your salary for next year as well? Like, so I get it, but nah, I don't think his contract hard to move. I think they just don't want to attach any assets to do anything, truthfully. Wiseman, was it also? I'm sorry, also my bad. Was that no pick? Was that with your homie? Say Chad's got Gary Trent Jr. money. Boy, I wish I'm doing bad, son. I'm doing bad, bro. Doing bad. It's fucked up out here. The stock market ugly right now. Well, I appreciate you, Austin. My name is my name. What's the deal? He said, what if Denver Summer League Center don't make the roster? You talking about Brazil? Oh, Brazil making that, right? Brazil got his contract already. My name. That's what you're talking about? I think that's they trying to view him as Aaron Gordon replacement. I don't know how they're gonna move Aaron right now. Like Denver, if y'all notice, Denver hasn't made any moves. Cleveland hasn't made any moves neither. Because Denver, I think they kind of in a situation like the Pelicans to where, like, man, I'm not trying to take no loss on an Aaron Gordon trade, and I'm not trying to give you a pick to move him. I want a pick for Aaron Gordon. I want a pick for Cam Johnson. I want value in return for these players. But if you're an opposing team, you like, I'm not giving you no value for these dudes. You have to move them. You got a tax bill. You gotta move them. You're in a repeater tax. You already got $177 million bill. I'm not giving you nothing. Like, so it's just a tough market for teams that are desperate to do certain things, whether you're desperate at a position or you're desperate to shed money, in my opinion. Brian Green said, can you analyze what my Lakers need to do roster-wise? I think the Lakers still need a starting wing. No surprise there. The backup center position is a little interesting. You got a solid backup point guard in Colin Sexton. I like Quentin Grimes as a solid 3-and-D guy, but I think the Pelicans need a wing. I don't think Zion Williams answers that need for them unless he has a prolific 3-point year. He got the measurements to be a solid 3-and-D wing. He like 6'9", 6'10". But I don't know if they have a guy on that roster right now that can defend an opposing team's best perimeter player. Because you're still talking about Luka, Austin Reeves, Colin Sexton tries hard. Quentin Grimes is solid defensively. Walker Kessler is solid in the limited minutes we've seen him. But they still need that defensive wing. They need Herb Jones. But the problem is they ain't got no bigs. So it gets tough. Kuminga athletically and talent-wise could fit the bill. They got enough shooting. You got Jake. You got Dalton Connect. You got Luka, of course. Kessler will probably heighten his 3-point volume, but they still need a defensive wing because teams just gonna abuse Luka and Austin. Like, they're gonna abuse them, and that's gonna make Luka and them have to work even harder offensively. Like, it's gonna be tough. Yeah, he says I at 6'9", but not a PJ Washington 6'9". Yeah, like the builds are different. Like PJ Washington is like could really play power forward, like, and he rebounds. But defensively, he's not much better than Zaya. It's just I don't think Zaya is a starting caliber wing. I mean, if he shoots the ball well, like he shot like 34% last year, 35. So if he can get to like 37% this year and be solid defensively, that'll be cool. Michael said, what you think the Kings looking for in a deal for Sabonis? I think they're looking for at least one first and maybe some expiring salary. That's why I think the Pelicans could get him today if they want him. Like, they could get him today. But it's like, do you want to tie your books for next year? Because the Kings need to shed money desperately. They already cut DeMar DeRozan, but still, you need to share money. His contract was still partially guaranteed, and they want to get younger. So, like, I think they looking for expiring salary, and you got Renard, you got the other big you just brought in. Like, that team looking to move on. They got some talent, but I think they still looking to pivot. Yeah, I think they asking for at least one first for Sabonis, at least. Because Sabonis, like he sat out last year because y'all was tanking, but he ain't got years of injury and like he don't have that. Mathurin could heat up from 3. He had 6 threes in the fourth quarter. Mathurin, look, in Indiana, Mathurin was cold. When he got to the Clippers, he kind of settled more into his role. But I think settling into that role kind of cost him a little bit too. Because if he would have just been putting up crazy numbers consistently, he might have had his contract right now. But people, for some reason around the league, they just don't seem to value Ben Mathurin. I don't know why. His net rating was solid too last year, especially when he was with Kawhi. Target of a life, say if Nick Richards injured or something. Not that I know of. He just out there. I wouldn't be surprised though if he was like, if somebody was like, look, we gonna let us settle this first, but we got you. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the situation, especially seeing how people was valuing bigs this season and the Pelicans desperately needing a big. I think they'd be looking to either create a roster spot first, because the Pelicans only got one roster spot. So I think they'd be looking to get their wing. Because that's what it seemed like they're after, looking to get their win and then create a roster spot and maybe go double back and try to get, a center. James Wiseman. I mean, Troy took a flyer on him once. He could be an interesting reclamation project, but I think if you the Pelicans, you need somebody that's already good at rebounding. I wouldn't mind him getting like a camp invite, but if that's the case with Wiseman, you should have brought him onto the summer league roster if possible. Like, you should have had him, like, you should have been watching him play, like that way you can see where he's at. But James Wiseman, he's definitely athletic enough, and he just got injured right away when he went to Indiana. Greg says, so starting 5: Murray, Mathurin, Murphy, Zion, Ware with fans and Queens, and the rest off the bench. 45 wins. I would be comfortable with 45 wins with that. I would be very comfortable saying 45 wins with that. That sounds like a quality team right there. I think like you check pretty much every box. That would be a hell of a team. I would be comfortable with saying 45 wins with that, or at least more, or at least 40 plus. I don't know about 45, but at least 40 plus. And Brian Green said Lakers can fill the 3 spot by committee. They really need a proven 4. I don't think they need both, honestly. Like, because the reason I say that is because you really need a wing defender versus like an offensive threat defensively. I'm just trying to think who's going to be picking up the opposing team's best offensive player for the Lakers this year. And it's hard to really imagine who would do it aside from Quentin Grimes. And Quentin Grimes, he can defend, but it's still like, you got Quentin Grimes, you got Walker Kessler. Kessler hasn't played a full season yet. So what's going to happen when teams just start targeting Reeves and targeting Luka, and Colin Sexton tries hard, but he's like a smaller guard. You lost Rui. Like, teams could kind of target Sandro. Like, there's too many like defensive liabilities on the court, but they're going to be so good offensively. I imagine it'll matter a little bit less. Them fucking games going to have to be 120 to 119 every night. Like, they're going to have the ball out. Offensively, I imagine. But yo, shout out to everybody building, man. Make sure you hit that like button. We're gonna run through what Jake said again, and we're gonna get out of here.
Loose threads that are still dangling and things that we're keeping.
Yo, while this is playing, everybody do me a favor, hit the like button, and we're gonna listen to Jake and dip.
An eye out here on for the rest of the summer.
Why would stop?
The Denver Nuggets are feeling all this interest in Peyton Watson. The Nuggets are certainly a team that's still active in this marketplace. They've also got another restricted free agent in Spencer Jones, and Denver is in need of another potentially backup center after losing Jonas Valanciunas.
If Thero, I'm not sure I say his name, but if Adu and Jake continue to trend the way they trend, then they could help defensively. Because I think Jake's a very solid defender, and I like Adu's physicality. So I think if one of those guys take another step, they can absolutely help defensively. I like both of those players.
They waived him by their own decision, and he just made it official and signed with Lithuania. today. They brought in Marvin Bagley to be a backup center, but I do still think there's some thought in Denver about finding some more front court depth. Milwaukee is a team that is definitely still, quote unquote, shopping, still doing business here on the offseason marketplace. We know of them, right, as a team that we just talked about that has Peyton Watson interest, that's floated around Jonathan Kuminga. But all of Memphis, Charlotte, Milwaukee, those teams, to my understanding, all have more than 15 players under contract. So they're going to have to cut some guys or make a trade. Dallas is still somewhat active, to my understanding. I've heard some people looking at New Orleans to potentially do something here. They've obviously been in the news a lot over the last couple of days with DeAndre Jordan having a 2-year contract and not a 1-year contract. That was something that we first reported over the weekend as well. And we are looking at Atlanta potentially doing something here, being that they kind of have a loose thread to tie up here with Jonathan Kuminga, and they don't exactly have to play ball and have to help facilitate an exit for him, but just because he is someone on the board that does have varying interest from other teams and does need to leave by way of sign and trade, that does position Atlanta in trade conversation and with an opportunity to further improve their roster here. So I think outside of Memphis, Charlotte, and Milwaukee, Atlanta, Dallas, the Lakers with Kuminga, New Orleans, those are teams I'm hearing are still kind of active in this free agent marketplace. I mean, the Warriors are going to have some stuff to do with whether or not they get.
All right. All right. Shout out to the homie Brian Green, man. Good talking to you about them Lakers, man. Yo, appreciate everybody in the building. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Yo, when the video uploads, can y'all hit the hype button for me? I'm not really sure what it does, but I would appreciate it. Much love to all y'all, man. Make sure y'all taking care of y'all health. I'm about to hit the gym after this, and I appreciate y'all tapping in. Have a good day. Have a good weekend if I don't talk to y'all before this weekend. But y'all be cool. Peace. I'm out.